I've noticed there's a real fascination among Gen Z and Gen Alpha about how things were done before the internet. For example, how do we communicate before there was email and text messaging and social media? Well, we used to write letters to each other on paper like this, and mail carriers would deliver them to their destination. It would take anywhere from 1 to 7 days, depending on how far away the letter needed to go. But then the question becomes, how do you make sure these mail carriers deliver your letter to the right person? Well, that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how to fill out an envelope so that your letter goes where it's intended to go. Now, the first step is in choosing the right envelope. This first envelope is what's called a business envelope. It's for business purposes. Let's say you wanted to apply for a bank loan or a job. Well, this is the kind of envelope you would use in that case. On the other hand, you have here your personal envelope, the smaller size. That's for sending letters to friends, family, more informal types of communication. You don't want to make the mistake of sending this to a business person. They're going to look at an envelope like this and they're going to say, what's this tiny envelope? This person can't possibly be serious about doing business. And they're likely to not even read that. And by the same token, you want to avoid sending this style of envelope to a friend or family member. It indicates a certain level of gravity, a seriousness that could send the wrong message and potentially cause some undue anxiety. Now, the first step in filling out your envelope is writing down the address where you want the letter to be sent. Now, that's an important distinction because that information goes roughly in the center of the envelope right here. Now, in this case, this being a business envelope, I'll write an address for a business, Bank of America. I'll make up an address. California. Now, this last piece, you have the option of continuing on the same line as the city and state, or sometimes people like to go below. It's a style choice. You can either write the zip code, what's called the zip code. It's a 5-digit number here or below. Now, in this case, I'm going to make up a zip code. But you're going to want to actually, this is not the actual zip code for Flint, California. You're going to want to look up the zip code, the 5-digit number that matches the city and state where you're sending your letter. Now, the next step is actually writing your own name and address up here in the upper left-hand corner. And a lot of people say to me, why am I writing my address on the letter? I'm not sending a letter to myself after all. To which I say, fair point. But this is just a precaution in the event that something goes wrong with your letter, it's delivered to the wrong place or damaged somehow. In that case, the letter would be sent back to you. So let's say your name is J. Albert Washington. This is the abbreviation for Washington, W.A. And important to make sure you, between the city and state, make sure you put your comma in here. Otherwise, you could make a mistake. They think it's maybe it's being addressed to Albert Wah, nice Asian gentleman perhaps. But either way, to avoid confusion, put that comma in there. And that applies down here in this address as well. Of course, then you're faced with the situation of how do I fit my letter? How do you get this here? And even more challenging if you have, but there's a lot of ways to handle this, and we'll address this in another video. But let's say you've got your paper inside your envelope and you're ready to go. But then your last step is going to be what's called applying a stamp. This is what's called a stamp. And you want to put that firmly in the upper right-hand corner here of your envelope. You're just going to peel the sticker back, and I won't do it because I don't want to waste the stamp, but you just stick it right down here. Now, you will have to pay a fee for the stamp. No one knows exactly how much these cost. They kind of fluctuate over time. It's very similar to the stock market. But whatever they tell you when you go to buy these at the post office, you just pay it. And again, the dealing with postal workers and going to the post office and that process will all be covered in another video down the road. For now, just know stamp. And that pretty well covers the process of addressing an envelope. I hope this has been helpful. If so, share it with friends. And as always, like and subscribe my videos, how-to videos for you, for a better life. Thanks.